Hi guys, so the other day I was at Waxstock 2023, and if you don't know what that is, it's basically a detailing show for the hardcore enthusiasts and the professionals. And whilst I was there, I came across multiple stalls that were selling these innovative tools, but there was one thing in particular that really stood out to me for so many reasons, because it was something I never in a million years thought I'd find at a car detailing show. And I've actually got it in this bag here, and I've got a car wash sponge. And here's where it gets really interesting, because when I was at that stand, I went up to the owners and I said, seriously guys, is this a joke? And they said no. I said, have you got anything to prove it? Have you got anything that we could back it up with? And in fact they did. I've got about 30 pages here of proof why they believe that this sponge is going to be the next best thing. And it's so fascinating because they've actually spent a lot of time and effort getting this off the ground. And they got a letter here from the University of Birmingham, which goes into all the technicalities, all the science. I'm not going to try and bore you to death with this. I'm going to try and make this actually as fun as possible. But I've also got all these other things here from the IDA. If you don't know what the IDA is, basically it's like the CIA for car cleaners, top secret stuff. And I've got so much stuff here about all the technology involved and how people get a better wash using this sponge. Honestly, there is words in here that I just cannot understand. Right, so we're going to do this. This is what we got from the University of Birmingham. And they basically do a little test on all these 5 different wash mitts and sponges. And we're going to start off with this one anyway, because this is the most important one. Now, basically, what it says is the following. What do the microstructures tell us? Well, it can be observed that the morphology of the high-end sponge contains 3-dimensional porous network structure with a bare sponge skeleton size of approximately 40 upside down H joined up M, whatever that is, and a pore size of 40 to 200 upside down H joined up M. The high magnification SEM image shows that the surface of the sponge skeleton was smooth edged. You know, this is a sponge they're on about, not a planet. And it goes into more detail about all the other ones like the wash mitts and the other sponges. So currently I'm using a microfiber wash mitt. So I wanted to see what they had to say about them in case I really am doing it all wrong. And it says that OM Micrographs a sample microfiber wash mitt. The morphology consists of smooth fibres weaved together with a width of single fibre ranging a few microns. Unfortunately, we were unable to perform the SEM on this product. That sounds a bit kinky. As there was considerable risk that the fibres would be unretrievable and therefore contaminate the SEM chamber for further operation. Dave, it's just a sponge. People will understand. I don't know. Where's that Andreas Schwarzenegger guy of Detailing Central? He would know all this stuff. And I tell you what though, another thing, these sponges, they do half make good neck pillows. If it all goes wrong, Silent Night better watch it. Oh yeah, it's lovely. So I've decided to come up with an experiment of my own featuring the wash mitt from Autoglim and this sponge. Now we have 2 beakers here. So basically what I'm going to do is put both of these in the bucket for around 10 seconds and then I'm going to wring each of them out in each beaker. And then I'm going to find out which one can hold the most water. And this is quite a scientific experiment if you think about it, because when you're washing your car, you need as much lubricity as possible in between the surface of the paintwork and the application tool, whether it's using a sponge or a microfiber wash mitt. So here we go. I'm going to chuck this sponge into this beaker and hopefully I'm not going to make a mess, but I want to be able to try and get at least 500 mils from this thing. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Without making a mess, he says. Now, I do realise that by doing this, there is water actually not making its way in the beaker. So it's just, you know what I'm like. We don't do anything perfect. It's always, you know, it's got to be all right. This is an all right scientific experiment we're doing right here. Okay, so we have about 700 mils, just a bit less. Now for the wash mitt, this is going to be tricky because this is a monster. So I'm going to be very quick again. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Oh, that was a good one. It's looking good already, actually. Crikey. I think we've already got a winner here. That's astonishing. And I've not really wrung it out yet, because every time I do try and wring it out, it's almost going to go out of the beaker. Oh my word. Just keep going, keep going. That it's pretty conclusive, even by my standards. That has pretty much hit 1 litre, almost 900 mils it is, sorry. Crikey. Right, so we're now going to go outside and put this thing to the test and see whether it really does work or not. But I've got a little confession to make, because between you and me, I actually didn't have a problem with the sponge until everybody went on about it. I actually thought it was quite a nice thing to use. You could get around the car very quickly. You didn't get any damage on your shoulder because they never really held a lot of water. And I just thought it was quite a convenient way to clean my car back in the day. But of course, technology and times change constantly. So it's quite funny that we're now looking at this sponge as a potential replacement for a wash mitt, which is just everything's going in circles. It's quite hard to imagine. So I've got to get outside, I've got to give it a go. And I've just got to have faith in the system, because if all those scientific papers are correct, then this could be a good replacement for a microfiber wash mitt. And I never thought I would ever say that in my life. Oh, and another thing to mention, whilst I was there, I did pick this up as well. It's a 7-piece car care kit. 6 of them are on sticks, and they look like the sort of thing you wash your back and your bum with when you have a bath. But anyway, I will save that for another video. Right, so I'm just going to give the wife's car a quick clean up, and because it's a weekend and it's summertime, would you believe it or not, it's absolutely hammering it down with rain thanks to global warming. So we're only going to be out here for about 25 minutes or so, just giving it a quick wash. I'm not going to be going OTT, but it should give me a good indication whether I think this sponge is going to be good enough. We've only got a couple of different things here we're going to be using. I've got a pre-wash, got snow foam, some shampoo, and a 2-bucket method with a pressure washer. Apart from that, we're not really going to be using anything else. So first thing you notice straight away when you put the sponge into the bucket is it doesn't feel very heavy compared to a microfiber wash mitt. And although some of you might say that's a bad thing because it's not going to be able to hold as much water, you've got to look at it from a positive point of view. At least you're going to be able to get around the car quicker. Here I'm just spraying the lower third of the car with Infinity Wax Apple Pre-Wash and allowing it to dwell. Right, foam time. The snow foam of choice today is Power Foam, also from Infinity Wax, and if you want to grab a 10% discount off your next order with them, then don't forget to use the code EPIC at the checkout. With the car covered in foamy goodness, it was time to give it a rinse off. And if you are new to the channel and you want to learn the entire pre-wash process, then I will link a video in the description below that covers everything you need to know. Once the rinse was complete, it was time to take a step back in time. Wow, it's been a long time since I've used one of these. I really do feel like I'm at a hand car wash here. So when you use the wash mitt, it definitely feels a lot heavier than the sponge, and this one's been quite worn in. I've had this for a fair few months now, so it's quite amazing how light this feels. And if you're somebody who's in a hurry, I can understand why you would use one of these. And let's not forget that I've already given it a pre-wash, we've done the snow foam as well, and we've given it a blimmin' good rinse. So as far as I'm concerned, the majority of the dirt should already be off this car. This is just for the final stages. If you were to wash a dirty car with a sponge from scratch and not do any pre-wash, then I could understand that you are going to get loads of grit clogged up in between this and the surface of the paint. So it does make you wonder how bad these things really are. Well, to answer that question, the reason why people hate sponges is because in most cases they're flat, so the dirt has nowhere to go. And this sponge goes against the grain by having what I can only describe as monkey nipples. So this one isn't flat, so if you do press fully down on the sponge, then technically the dirt will sit high up in the sponge pockets and not on those off-putting nips. But I can't help but worry when you apply moderate pressure, as it makes that classic squeaking sound that many of you are probably familiar with. And for those of you who love a bit of nostalgia, then turn your volume up right now. That sounds really bad when I go like that. I can see myself getting so much hate for this video. It's just that sound that the sponge makes when you rub it along the surface when it goes like that. Oh. Compared to a wash mitt, that glides over, seriously. So as I've previously tested many times, it is amazing how much these wash mitts can hold the shampoo. I mean, look at that. When you wring that out, look at all the lubricity in between the surface here. It's amazing, actually. This was a real blast from the past for me, and if I rolled the clock back to when I started this journey, then compared it to a traditional sponge, it's definitely miles better. But as much as I respect the effort and the science, I still had a worry in the back of my head that I wasn't getting the best out of my contact wash. And by the way, wash mitts are not 100% scratch proof. It only takes one wrong move and you could easily end up scratching your paint, even on a microscopic level. But if I was a lawyer trying to fight the case for this sponge, I would also have to argue that you're more likely to scratch the car during the drying process. Whereas if you're using this during the wash stage, then surely the pre-wash and the snow foam would get rid of most of the dirt. And then you've got to factor in the suds and the lubrication that the shampoo offers. So where do you go from here? So after using both the wash mitt and the sponge, I still have to say that I would always choose a wash mitt. And it's not to say that the sponge was bad in any way, it's just that it felt a little bit alien to me compared to what I'm currently used to. So there was something that I couldn't stand about using a sponge, and you could buy one and then within 2 weeks after holding it like this, you'll find that cell structure has completely worn away and the thing's split in half. So compared to a microfiber wash mitt, you'll find these are going to be way more durable. But let me just give you a quick example, because this is the brand new one that I've just opened up from Autoglim. And this is what happens to them after a while. So they still lose their structural integrity inside, but at least the fibers are all pretty much still intact. And the thing is, once you've got these to a certain point where you're not going to be using them on the bodywork, you can still demote them for things like the wheels or the wheel arches even. But in all honesty, you have to admire the bravery of Hygan Car Care who produce these, because they're trying to bring them out and sell them to people in an industry that completely frowns upon the sponge. So they're literally fighting against a brick wall here. But earlier on, I mentioned about these other car care kits that they do, which is basically a variety of different sponges on a stick. Now, earlier in the footage, you may have noticed that I was cleaning that Kia grill with the sponge. Now, if I'd used these, they would have been way more beneficial for you. So it means that they could still have their place within the car cleaning industry, it just may be in a different format. So I now want to get you guys involved, and I want you to let me know if you've ever come across anything that looked weird and wonderful for car cleaning and you just thought that looks too good to be true. Whether it's something you found on AliExpress, Temu or even eBay, let me know in the comments below. And also during this video we did skip a few steps during the pre-wash, so if you want to see a dedicated video on how I do it properly, you can go and watch that video right here.